Okay, this is the United States Supreme Court. The reason states are not allowed to ban abortion right now, and the federal government is not allowed to ban abortion right now, is because of a 1973 Supreme Court ruling called Roe versus Wade. Right now, the ideological balance of the court is such that if an outright challenge to Roe versus Wade were heard in this court, the vote, we think, would likely be a 5-4 decision to keep Roe versus Wade, to protect a woman's right to have an abortion. If the makeup of the court changes by one justice, though, it would be about 5 seconds before conservatives got a case challenging Roe into the court, once they were sure that the ruling would be 4-5 instead of 5-4. With 4 Supreme Court justices over the age of 70, whoever becomes president is likely going to be able to appoint at least one new Supreme Court justice. And if it is a Republican president, he will appoint nominees who will definitely vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. And abortion will then immediately become a criminal act at the state level in every state that's willing to do that. And we know Republicans will immediately try to ban it federally as well. They have been trying that for a very long time, including multiple times in this Congress. What the Republican Party is fighting about now is not whether the government should be able to force women to bear children against their will. They totally agree that that is definitely what should happen. All they're fighting about now is the edges, right? All they're fighting about now is whether you should be able to get an exception from the government forcing you to bear a child against your will. If you need that exception to save your life, if you need that exception to protect your health, if you need that exception because the way you got pregnant was through rape or through incest. Those are the issues that they are fighting about. They are beyond fighting about whether or not women are allowed to make this decision. It's clear to them, you are not. Within the Republican ticket, the argument is actually between the presidential nominee and the vice presidential nominee. Mitt Romney says if you're raped, he will take pity, and the government won't force you to bring that pregnancy to term like they will to everybody else. But the vice presidential nominee, Paul Ryan, does not take pity. Rape does not exempt you as far as Paul Ryan is concerned. And the politics inside the Republican Party on this are actually swinging in Paul Ryan's direction, not in Mitt Romney's direction. It's becoming increasingly common among Republican politicians with federal aspirations to try to explain away why rape is really nothing special, and certainly nothing that should afford you any special protection from a government that's going to assert its right to make this particular decision for you against your will.
What do you say then to a young girl? I mean, I'm going to place it as he said it, though. I mean, when, you know, a young girl is raped by her father, let's say, and she is pregnant. I mean, how do you explain this to her in terms of wanting her to go through the process of having the baby?
I think that 2 wrongs don't make a right, and I have been in the situation of counseling young girls, not 13, but 15, who have had very at-risk, difficult pregnancies. And my counsel was to look for some alternatives, which they did. And they found that they had made what was really a lemon situation into lemonade.
I am pro-life, and I'll answer the next question. I don't believe in the exceptions of rape or incest.
How would you tell a daughter or a granddaughter who, God forbid, would be the victim of a rape to keep the child against her own will? Is that something that you have a way to explain that?
I lived something similar to that with my own family. She chose life, and I commend her for that. She knew my views, but fortunately for me, I didn't. She chose the way I thought. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't great, but she did.
Similar how?
Maybe I would.
That's similar to rape?
No, but put yourself in a father's position, yes. I mean, it is similar. This wasn't. But I'm back to the original. I'm pro-life, period.
I think our viewers would love to know exactly where you stand. Specifically, you're pro-life.
Oh, yeah,
Catholic.
yeah.
But specifically where you stand when it comes to rape and when it comes to the issue of should it be legal for a woman to be able to get an abortion if she's...
Yeah, well, so I'm very proud of my pro-life record, and I've always adopted the position that the method of conception doesn't change the definition of life.
If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
That has become the new hardline position, or the new rightward position in the Republican Party on abortion rights. In Paul Ryan's words, rape is just the method of conception. Doesn't make any difference to him. But imagine that it is the Republican moderate position, the moderate position in the Republican Party on abortion rights that wins out. okay? So it's not the Paul Ryan position that wins out, but it's the Mitt Romney position. So imagine this. We get Mitt Romney elected president. A Supreme Court justice or two retires or passes away. President Romney gets one or two new justices approved and installed on the court. Conservatives rush a case to the court to overturn Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade is overturned thanks to Mitt Romney's new Supreme Court. States around the country ban abortion. And federally, Republicans in Congress are able to pass legislation and send it to now President Romney to federally ban abortion, a bill which he says he would be delighted to sign. Right? But we're not imagining a totally dystopian future. We imagine them taking what Republicans now consider to be the Mitt Romney moderate stance on this issue, in that they will allow victims of rape and incest special protection from the new government control over all American women's pregnancies. So here's a question that no one has yet asked Mr. Romney about his plan for abortion policy. This is a real practical policy question based on what he is planning to do. It's not about the radical side, it's about what he's portraying as his moderate side. How's that going to work? How are you going to decide who specifically is allowed access to abortion in America? You have to have been raped to qualify, right? So who adjudicates who has been raped? Do you take every woman's word for it? What if the man who is the alleged rapist says it wasn't rape? Do you take his word for it? Whose word counts? Do you wait until it is adjudicated in court? How about if there's an appeal? How many weeks and months is that going to take, and how many weeks and months can go by when you can feasibly still get an abortion while waiting for that process? Who makes the final ruling? Is it a cop? Is it a judge? Is it a jury? Is it Mitt Romney? If it's not the woman making the decision, who gets to make the decision? Mitt Romney has a very specific policy position on abortion rights, and the Republican Party is now trying to portray it as the moderate policy. But nobody has asked him what that policy would actually look like in America, how it would work in the real world. Joining us now for the interview tonight is the president of NARAL Pro-Choice America.